Are you sitting comfy, Harvey? So welcome, Joanne. Welcome to ATV. Thank you for coming to share your story with us. Would you like to introduce yourself and your family?
Yeah, so I'm Joanne. I foster for a local authority, and this is Harvey, who was placed with me at 3 weeks old as my first adopted child, and then I have a second adopted child who was placed with me when she was 8 weeks as an early permanence placement.
Okay, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in our chat, if that's okay.
That's fine.
But first of all, do you remember the difference in thinking, I suppose, from fostering to adoption, and what made you take that step?
So obviously, having fostered for 15 years, when Harvey came to me, I'd moved a lot of children onto adoption, and I knew that was the right choice. But for Harvey, it didn't seem the right choice. And so I approached a local authority and asked if I could be approved to adopt Harvey, which they agreed with. So Harvey's been with me since then. So.
And do you remember the assessment process and
I do.
How that?
So the assessment process for Harvey was quite long, just because he was already placed with me. ATV were just starting out, but once we kind of got onto it, it was fine, and it went through a bit longer than we'd expected, but we got there in the end. And he was already with me, so it made it easier.
Do you remember the assessment sessions and different areas you covered and support you were given through that?
It was kind of, for me, it was looking at stuff that I'd already done when I was a foster carer, but obviously that was 15 years ago, and that was as a couple. So this was doing it myself as a single person, looking at the ways of which I would parent differently second time round. When I had my birth children that are now adults, I was a teenage mum. Then I was coming in to do this as a 42-year-old person, so it was just adapting differently how I would do things, and looking at those skills and what I'd learned and how I would do things differently.
So you've mentioned already you've done this as a single adopter.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people ask us, is that a barrier to adoption? What would you say to those people that are single and are looking to adopt?
Not at all. Like, I have a lot of friends that are single adopters, and you're not looked on any differently than a married adopter or a same-sex couple adopter, that you're given the same support, the same option, the same opportunities. So there's not a reason why you couldn't adopt as a single adopter.
So your second adoption experience was slightly different.
It was slightly different.
It was through early permanence.
Yeah.
And would you like to describe what that is,
so,
or what that meant to you?
Yeah, so early permanence meant that I got my little girl early on, as early as we possibly could. Having had Harvey from 3 weeks, I knew his attachments were really good, and there was no difficulties with that. So I wanted to be able to do that with my second adoption, so decided to go into early permanence, and I was adamant that was what I was doing. I wasn't looking at anything other than early permanence. So
you had the understanding that it was an option, but what was life like in that arrangement? What challenges or surprises did you have?
I suppose for me, I thought, as a foster carer, I can do that, it's fine. It was much different to being a foster carer, because you're potentially hoping that child stays, whereas a foster carer, you potentially hope the parents make the choice to go, get the children to go home. For me, when birth mum was doing well, that meant the possibility of my little one staying was not, like, the gap was bigger.
Yeah, the uncertainties
changed.
Yeah.
So it was harder than I expected it to be. I thought I was strong and would go into it with my eyes open and everything would be fine, but it is emotion. It's like I'm an emotional roller coaster. But the end product, the ending is much nicer for her, because she doesn't know any different. She doesn't remember anything.
And you're describing a time that was quite uncertain and your emotions were up and down. What support was there for you?
So
through that process?
Angie, my adoption social worker, was always on the end of the phone. I could ring her at any point. She would, if she wasn't available, she would phone me back as soon as possible. I had a supervising social worker that I could speak to with any difficulties I had. And then I have my adult children, which they're both foster carers, so it meant I was able to kind of bounce off them a little bit. So, but there's always support from ATV. There's been support right along the way and afterwards. So it's really
Are there
good.
any particular support groups as such?
Yeah, so we come to Loud and Clear, which is a music class, which the little one loves, absolutely loves it. And we come to Playgroup. Again, you're meeting other people in the same situation as you. So questions which you might think are stupid, they've all been and done, and they're not stupid to them. They'll have been through the same situation. So it means you're like, I've got a stupid question. And they're like, oh, it's not stupid. We felt that. So it's nice to be able to go through that.
And we have a support group for early permanence.
Early permanence, yeah. So we have an online support group that runs 6 weekly. We started with everybody in very similar situations, but as it's gone on, we've had new adopters, early parents adopters come through, so we can tell them how we've been, and they say that they're struggling with things, but we can tell them that we were struggling with exactly the same things and talk them through it, and then they feel like they're not the only person going through the difficulties and understanding that.
And I know you still attend.
Yeah.
We're down the line now. We're past
adoption.
We're out of that stage, but you support there for others.
Yeah, it's nice to just be able to give other people that the feeling when they're feeling uncertain, that we've all gone through that, and there's others that are on there that have they've got their adoption orders and through the other side. So for us to give them the feedback, it makes them feel like more at ease of what they're doing, that they're not feeling out of their depth, because sometimes you do. You're feeling like, I don't know why this is happening, but if you can ask a question and other people have been through it, it makes you feel
Problem
better.
shared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a problem halved, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
You've mentioned birth mum. How would you describe that relationship, and what sort of experiences did you have through contact?
So I had no face-to-face contact with birth mum. We did have telephone contact, and we had a book that went between contacts. She had 3 times a week contact, which went on till she was 5 months, and it was regular. And mum always wrote in the contact book. I always wrote back. She was very complimentary. There was never anything different. She loved the way she was dressed. She liked the fact that we wrote things in there. We sent her gifts when it was Christmas and on Mother's Day. So it was just as I would have done as a foster child, to include birth mum as much as we could.
Overall, your experience with early permanence, if somebody was thinking about that, what would you share? What's your wisdom? What's your words of advice?
It is hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but the end result is much better. You're giving that baby the best start as you would you want your own baby to have. So if they go home, you've got to understand that you've given them everything that they could possibly ask for, and if they stay, then you've given them everything they can possibly ask for. You just need to get your mindset in. If they go home, that there is a possibility that they go home. There was a high possibility that mine was going home. I thought I was strong enough to deal with that. There was some wobbles along the way, but we got there at the end of the day. So it worked out.
And did you feel that you learnt more about yourself through that process?
Yeah. I thought I was probably stronger I am quite a strong person, but I thought I was stronger than I was. I thought that I would be able to deal with whatever was given, but obviously that it is tricky. Yes.
You want to go in the other room?
Do you want to go outside?
You can go in the other room if you want to.
I'm tangled.
Thank you for helping us though, Harvey.
Thank you.
He's quite happy to go out there.
with his little microphone.
It is. So, Joanne, do any of your children have any additional needs that you've accessed support for?
So Harriet had some additional needs mobility-wise. So we've accessed Future Steps with her, and we're in the process of having 18 sessions with Future Steps to deal with their mobility. And she has some eating issues, so they're doing some oral, food, texture, sensory things with them. So that's been really good and really interesting.
So have you accessed that through your social worker?
Yeah,
through
the
adoption
adoption
teams,
fund,
and the adoption support fund.
Yeah.
And has that work started? Have you seen any?
That started
Okay.
2 weeks ago, so
Okay.
we've just started that. We did a 12-week Future Stars group, and then the assessment came from there of what they felt that she needed. So that's been put on a track of 18 sessions. So.
And within the adoption support fund and the adoption post-adoption support service, we say to adopters, we've got different tiers at the right time to suit you and what you need. Do you feel like that's benefited you in your family? And
Yeah, because you don't always think that you need it, but actually once that you go to Future Steps and they look at what her needs are, then they do see the need, and I think the support workers all see and say, oh, we think this is a good idea. So the more you have access to ATV support sessions, they see needs that you probably see but don't think that they need any extra support with. So that's quite good that other people see, and they'll pick up on it and suggest things, which is how we ended up at Future Stars. So.
And you come along, you're a regular visitor, right, to our
am,
stay and play
Yeah.
on a morning with just parents and the children.
Yeah, she loves coming. She comes in and she's like she owns the place. She's been coming since she was probably around 6 months, so she kind of waltzes in, and she doesn't like you moving rooms. So when you move rooms, when we moved music rooms, she didn't like that because she come in to the bigger room and we moved to a smaller room. So.
And that group is available for any of our adoptive parents to come.
Yeah.
So if there were parents that aren't coming to that, what would your message be to encourage them to come along?
It totally come. It's really relaxed, really chilled, but the kids love it. Like, it helps them with rhythm and rhyme. Harriet quite often sings "Hello Harriet" to everybody as she's walking down the street, and does the actions. It's amazing how much they pick up, because she started going when she wasn't even talking, but now she's starting to chatter and she sings things that she sings at group, and it makes nursery rhymes not the same, because they have nursery rhymes and they change the words. So when you go to normal play groups, you don't know what words you're singing. It's quite nice for them to. All of the children now all have a really lovely relationship. A lot of them have kind of grown with each other. So when you come in and they run up to each other, it's really nice.
And you know that supports their identity, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're not the only person that's adopted.
Yeah.
They've got an array of other people that are in the same situation as they are. And hopefully as they get older, we'll still see them, and it'll mean that they're not at school. Harvey's the only one that's adopted.
Right.
In his, probably the lower school, I think. So to have other people that are in the same situation as he is, he knows his story, he knows what's happening. So for somebody else to be in that same situation and he can chat to, gives him, as he gets older, somebody else to talk to, where if he spoke to somebody at school, they wouldn't understand what his situation is.
But it'll give him the confidence.
To be able to be open about it. He does speak openly. He's not.
He was really keen to join in with us here, wasn't he?
He's not shy, so.
With his own microphone. So, what advice would you give to adopters that are concerned about adopting in the event a child would have additional needs?
As an early permanent, a birth child could have additional needs. So when you get them so young, you grow with them, you change with them. It's one of them things that you just have to deal with. It's not a frightening thing. They're a baby, so you can have a baby that's born perfect and have an infection and have an additional need. So you just deal with the challenges as they come along. And I think that's, as a parent, that's what you need to do.
And the benefits of that?
Of
early permanence.
permanence.
Yeah.
Our attachments to each other, that she's much more outgoing. We've just been on holiday. She went into the children's club, not a bit of an issue. Picked her up, was happy to come back. So she doesn't have the anxieties as some children would have if they'd had that break and the change in carer.
The benefits are absolutely there for all the emotion you went through.
Yeah. For her, like, it's without a doubt the best thing.
And that's what we say, don't we? We ask the adults to take on that uncertainty, not
Yeah,
have
and I
the
think the
child.
emotional stuff that I go through has meant that I'm closer to her than I ever was, because
Yeah,
ultimately
yeah.
there was a possibility I would lose her. I didn't lose her, she's still with me, and that makes our relationship all the more closer.
Yeah.
So it is hard, and emotionally it is a roller coaster, but it makes you closer to the person that you've got. So
Adoption Tees Valley is turning 5.
they are.
Yeah, and we are reflecting back on all the families we've helped create and still continue to support. I'm going to ask you, how has life been for you since you've adopted?
Great. Crazy. Did I think I was going to be a mum again at 42? Probably not. But it's just keeps you young, keeps you fit. But totally exciting. The support's there. I took Harvey, and then Harvey wanted a sibling, so came back as a second time. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's great.
And managing siblings, although you've adopted through adoption, but does that need another skill set, would you say?
No, they're unrelated siblings, but they
nonetheless
you don't. Anybody outside wouldn't know they were unrelated. They get on as birth siblings would do. They fight, they argue, they play, they hug and kiss each other. It's just part and parcel of what they do. I think
sibling relationship.
Yeah, it's nice for them to have a sibling relationship. I think as a foster carer, it's better for them because they've got each other. Whatever happens, they've got each other. So that's really important for me.
Can you reflect back on what have been your standout milestones since becoming a family through adoption?
I suppose gaining each of them, celebrations.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, we've had big celebrations. That I think when we took Harvey to court, I think there was 37 people in court. I think
wow.
The judge was like, oh, normally there's only a couple, but I have a big family, and that it is a family thing. Whatever we do, the family's in the middle of it, so that's really important.
And we're asking, what are your hopes for the next 5 years?
We'll still be with ATV.
Yes.
Rocking up every week. Getting support, offering support to other people, and the kids being healthy and
absolutely,
like growing as they do. It'll blink of an eye and we'll be at 10 years. It seems like not long ago we were just at the beginning.